Greetings, fellow captains, and welcome back to another episode of World of Warships with the Hivehead. And today, to be honest with you, I've just been asked so much. I really didn't want to make a video on this, but people just keep on asking me my opinions in streams and stuff, and I'd rather just do it once and get it done and get it out of the way. And that's my thoughts and opinions on what's going on over on the PC side of World of Warships, with the mass exodus of the CCs over there. So I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions. So 100% agree with the World of Warships CCs being angry and understandably angry and upset over the whole Little White Mouse debacle, whereas Little White Mouse and one of her colleagues that I'm not going to try and pronounce their name spent a significant amount of time pouring in some details and designing a Canadian ship, a rebranded British ship for Canada Day, and obviously that wasn't listened to, it wasn't used, and I understand exactly why it would have happened. Things like this happen a lot, particularly with companies that have grown really, really quickly, really, really fast, is that they get compartmentalized and the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand and things get lost and missed. And, you know, it's not an excuse. It's 100% not an excuse. It's something that Wargaming clearly need to work on, I think. Justifiably, there's some real criticism there. With regards to the second biggest complaint, so the monetization thing seems to be the thing that everyone shouts about, but if you listen to what the CCs are saying in their I've left videos, the biggest thing they seem to be really mad about, like the monetization thing, genuinely feels like a bit of a bandwagon situation, unfortunately. But they seem to be incredibly angry. The tone of their voice changes when they talk about the fact that Wargaming don't listen to their feedback, and understandably. But you're a community contributor. You're not a community developer. You're not a community manager, and every single one of them have said it themselves. Particularly Jingle's done a great video on it where he pointed out that you know, the percentage of the player base that actually, you know, watch community contributors or deal with them on a regular basis, provide them with feedback and stuff, is an incredibly small percentage. So do the CCs really represent the player base? On console, I don't think I represent the player base by any stretch of the imagination. The way I look at my job, and I say job, it's a hobby. Let's be honest. My hobby of being a World of Warships CC is to help my community, provide my community with entertainment, provide my community with information on ships. I look at it from a standpoint of I appreciate everyone who watches my content, and because you watch my content, I want to at least give you the information on the ships coming out. So if you are going to spend your hard-earned cash on something premium, then, you know, you're making an informed decision rather than, ooh, that's shiny, let me buy it, ooh, that ship sucks. So that's the position that I take on it. I don't think that I have any authority in saying how the game should run, how the game should be developed. Great, I appreciate it if Wargaming do listen to feedback, which on Legends at the moment, at the very least, they do. They've made a whole raft of changes based on feedback from the community and from the contributors, which is awesome. But I don't think we have any right to be demanding that anyone listens to us on how they develop their game. But of course, that's just a personal opinion of myself. I really don't think I'm overly that important to wargaming. But like I said, my focus is on my community, and if my community tell me something, I'll put it forward. And it's entirely Wargaming's decision what they do with that information. So you know what we'll actually do. I've made a list of stuff that Wargaming have done based purely off community feedback. So bear with me a second, because I'm kind of doing this a little bit off the cuff, and I've just got to find it here. Right, where was my list? Right, okay, so here's a list based off community feedback and feedback from the community contributors as well. So Wargaming put in the addition of the armor viewer. They changed the spawn points back in December of 2019. They give us the faster way to convert all of our boosters. They separated the premium ship bonuses from the XP calculator, especially for modes like Ranked. They improved Russian destroyers' performance. They added the ship carousel filter. They added commanders in store for excess commander XP that you might have. They added the reroll mechanic for commander crates, so you always got a new commander. Anyone who's not been playing this game since the start will probably remember getting 4 or 5 George Deweys before you got your first William Sims. I know I ended up getting Hyde from from the first Halloween event, way before I got Otto for the German commanders. So my Otto is like rank 8 legendary nothing. Because I didn't get that option. I was unlucky and didn't get the that was pre-reroll mechanic, which I think is a massive addition. The higher tier service cost was reduced. Granted, I might not have agreed with that, but I understand why they've done it, because the general player base struggle at tier 7, whereas I don't. So there's me thinking, yeah, reducing the service costs kind of defeats the object. But I have an easier time at tier 7 than a lot of other people, so I can understand that completely, and that's where my my lack of self-importance, I guess comes from. Adding spam prevention filters to quick commands, being able to opt out of non-historical content, so having that ability to turn off all the the anime voices, transformer voices, and all that. Fix the timer and point counter visibility. Again, this is an old one. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but the points and the timer used to be just flat white. They didn't have the black outline, so when there was clouds, which was often, you couldn't actually see the timer or the score. So that was a huge change. Made camouflages and boosters available for credits. They give us the battle on button. Improved the performance of secondaries through the EST consumable. They also massively buffed the grosser curve for secondaries based off our feedback as well. Made the drop chances of crates available on the blog post. This is something that we'll get into the monetization in a minute, but at least they've been upfront and honest. They've gone, right, okay, we're giving you loot crates, here's your drop rates, here's your chances, you know exactly what you're buying, as long as you can be bothered to look. Added the national voice commanders. They provided us with the scalable minimap. Alright, there's only 2 different sizes, but at least you've got the option. The most controversial one, I remember the community nagging for this for the longest time, ship horns. Yeah, thanks Wargaming. Thanks for adding ship horns. We had like a month of we had like a 3-month period where all you heard was ship horns constantly, and people then begging for them to be removed. But you asked for it, so you got it. Included a dedicated premium tech tree and a dedicated shop tab for cosmetics. We nagged for carriers. They give us carriers. So, you could argue, and I can't dispute the fact that quite possibly we're still in that honeymoon period where Wargaming are actually listening to the community. But you've got to remember, everything in life is exactly the same. Everything is built for 90% of people. You know, if you're over 6'4", you're not buying a sports car that's going to be comfortable to fit in. I think John Cena was quite famous for buying a Ford GT and not being able to fit in it. Yeah, that's because it's not designed for John Cena. It's designed for 90% of people, or 99% of people, not the 10 or the 1%. So you know, whereas judging by the style of play I've seen from most people stream sniping me, everyone in that's sort of vocal and active in my community generally tend to be fairly good players, and you're not the general player base. You are exceptions to the exceptions to the game. You're people who look to learn and improve themselves, which makes you a minority. So whereas things might come in that annoy us, like RNG, you know, that shouldn't exist. RNG is designed to basically help noobs not get nuked. So obviously, you know, it's an irritation, particularly for someone like me, who's a pretty good player. But it also means you're not alienating 90% of the player base, because, you know, if every shot I fired landed exactly where I aimed it, there'd be nothing but dev strikes going on every single game, and nobody would be having fun. New players wouldn't enjoy it. They sort of need that get out of jail free card, which, to be honest with you, I kind of agree with. And also, historically, battleships, any naval ships' guns were horrendously inaccurate. The Bismarck, for example, which was, you know, for all intents and purposes, dead in the water, listing. You know, the British fired multiple, I think it was 3,000 or 4,000 shells with, you know, a couple of hundred hits. And we were considered to have very good and very accurate guns for the time. So, you know, that just sort of points out that fact, I guess. Right, so lastly, let's get on to this monetization subject. Right, okay, so yes, monetization of free games is a thing. Is wargaming actually aggressive with it? I don't agree with saying it's particularly aggressive. My idea of an aggressive monetization policy would be, you know, like these mobile games like Clash of Clans and Raid Shadow Legends and all that, where you need specific characters to become powerful, which you can only get from loot boxes. Or like, I used to play a game called World of Warship Pacific Encounter on the mobile, and yeah, you could play it for free. But basically, the ships went up in classes. You had submarines, destroyers, battleships, aircraft carriers. So, excuse this, it being an irrelevant point, but there is actually a point to this. And you'd start off, you'd have your grey, you'd have your green, you'd have your blue, you'd have your purple, and your red. And basically, they went up in power levels. But then they brought out, like, red with a black outline, which you could only get if you spent money. And then they came out with orange, and then they came out with black ones as well. So basically, if you played it for free, to roughly sum it up, the most powerful you could ever get was, let's say 10 million power. Whereas people spent tens of thousands and had billions of power, and there was absolutely no way you could compete in the game unless you spent money. So that would be an aggressive, from my perspective anyway. You can completely disagree and understand. I'm more than happy to discuss it in the comments as well. But that to me is an aggressive policy. If you cannot play, if you cannot be competitive without spending money, then that is 100% an aggressive monetization policy. Does Legends... okay, I don't know enough about PC. I have got a PC account. I don't play it anywhere near enough to know whether it's aggressive. Loot boxes, I do not agree with. 100% agree that I don't think gambling has a place in gaming, but at least they tell us the drop rates, and that's entirely your choice. One of the arguments that I've seen people pushing quite a bit was, well, there's children that play this game, and children are using mummy and daddy's credit card and buying these loot boxes and not understanding that they're getting dragged into gambling mechanics. Well, if you're a parent of one of these children playing one of these types of games, and you're giving them your credit card to use, whose fault is that? Like, I understand the mechanic. The mechanics in many games, loot boxes are incredibly common in video games. But try doing a bit of parenting. Shouting at wargaming for something that's been happening for decades. I remember as a child when you're talking about, Pokemon cards and football cards, and if you're American, baseball cards, for example, you'd buy a pack of cards for undisclosed amount, and it's a loot box. It's, the best players or the best Pokemon were rare, and your chance of getting them were quite low. So we can scream and shout saying, "Oh, wargaming, this is a disgusting tactic," but it's no different from any other company in the world, really. So maybe instead of screaming specifically at wargaming for this, we should all be writing to our local MPs and going, "Look, this whole loot-based system, gambling system needs to go." So that means football cards, Pokemon cards, Moshi Monsters, or whatever the latest one is. I know my daughter coerced me into spending a significant amount of money for Moshi Monsters, because if you got a gold one, like the gold one is the ones everyone wanted, and you'd be lucky if you had 1 out of 10 packs, and each of these packs were £7 or £8 each. So that is more of a that is not a wargaming issue. That is a systemic cultural issue, and something that if you're upset about, like I said, write to your local MP, because wargaming are just doing what everyone else is doing. So does it necessarily make wargaming evil? Or is it just they're capitalising on the systems that we've built, that we've allowed to go on for decades without complaining about? That's entirely up to you to decide. Like I said, once again, I'm 100% happy to discuss these things down in the comment section below, and I will 100%. I might even make a response video if there's enough interesting discussions going on in there. Also, there's other things like, yes, companies need to make profit. The games need to be profitable, not just pay for themselves. Because say you've got, I don't know, 30 people on a development team. That's a very small development team. But if they're making World of Warships and it's barely turning over a profit with everyone's wages and costs of facilities and stuff like that, they could be working on something else that makes a profit. So I understand that every company 100% does need to make a profit. There is some nuances that you've got to take into account on console, which is World of Warships PC obviously has their own pay system, which goes through global money, which is another discussion which I'm not going to get into. Well, I will. So global money is under investigation for money laundering, not wargaming themselves, global money. If wargaming are implicated in it through the investigation, obviously that's a big discussion that we all need to have then. But for the moment, I'm not going to speculate on whether or not wargaming have been doing anything shady with their funds. But so whereas on Legends it goes through Xbox, Microsoft and Sony, and Microsoft and Sony don't let people sell stuff on their console for free. I can guarantee that. perfect example. Okay, I'm not saying these are the actual figures because
I'm going to focus this
I don't know. I don't work from Wargaming. I don't have any. I don't have any contracts with them. Or I don't deal with their contracts. Sorry, should I say? But Apple, for example, I know 100% Apple will charge 30% on anything you sell on the Apple Store. So if I make an app and I charge £10 for it, I'm not getting £10. I'm getting £7. There's a 30% surcharge on it for the company allowing you to sell it through their store. So
it's a really good premium, but you don't see
that the prices are a bit inflated, yes. But from me personally, I can kind of understand it. Obviously, with anything to do with monetization, no one's holding a gun to anyone's head. No one has to buy these things. No one's forced to buy them. You could, right, okay, so I'm going to be nuanced and say no one's holding a gun to your head to buy this, and it's not pay to win. Okay, there is a small advantage to people spending money on the game.
I'd rather let you die.
The premium supply missions that give you promotion orders, you get a significantly larger amount if you have tier 2 tier 2 to 7 premium ship and a legendary ship, because those are promotion orders that obviously you couldn't get. And yes, you can buy commander crates, and having higher tier commanders is definitely an advantage. But I wouldn't, I don't see people complaining about being able to buy commander crates. I see people complaining about the cost of ships. So I'm sort of going off topic here, but yes, I think there is definitely a pay to advance mechanic. Obviously, premium time helps you advance faster by granting you more XP as you grind in lines. It also provides you with a greater number of credits, but that just speeds progression up. The premium supplies and the buying commanders is actually paying for an advantage, whereas the individual ships that you can buy in the premium store don't actually provide any significant. Some might be stronger. The Jean Bart, for example, which wasn't a ship you could buy, it was a campaign ship. Having that reload booster, I feel personally, is significantly stronger than its tech tree counterpart, the Richelieu. But just look at the Simone and the Fubuki. That is what I would say is a perfectly balanced premium. So you lose 2 kilometers on your maximum torp range, but you gain about 5 kilometers in speed on the torps. So it's providing you with a different way to play. I believe the gun reload is like 10% faster as well, but 10% on a 9-second reload isn't exactly massive.
I can get to 4 field.
But anyway, I think I've wrapped it on enough. I think I've covered anything. Again, if I've missed anything major out that you want me to talk about, drop a comment below, and I will respond. But that's me done. So until next time, take care.